Hi friends, welcome to this video on GST on director's salary. Shocking, isn't it? In continuation to the video relating to Rajasthan AR ruling on clay craft, this video has to be watched. Please like the video and subscribe the channel. The applicant, Anil, is unregistered person. He earns various sources of income. Partner salary from partnership firm, director salary, interest on partner's capital, interest on loan or advance, interest on fixed deposit, interest on debentures, interest on PF, post office, PPF, NPS, LIC proceeds, dividend on shares, rent on commercial property, residential rent, capital gains or loss on sale of shares. A whole lot of receipts, isn't it? Questions raised by the appellant before the Honorable Karnataka AIR are: out of the given sources of income or revenue, which all revenue income shall be considered for aggregate turnover for registration? Out of the given nature of income or revenue, when the supply, even if exempted, need to be considered? The applicant's interpretation of the law. Point number 1. Partner's salary and director's salary are not includable in the aggregate turnover for the reason that any type of salary is not in the purview of GST, as the same needs to be treated neither as supply of goods nor as supply of services. Point number 2. Rent on commercial property is includable in the aggregate turnover as renting of commercial property is a taxable service. Point number 3. The income received towards residential rent is includable in the aggregate turnover for registration, though the renting of residential property is an exempted service. Point number 4. The income received towards all remaining 15 types or categories is not includable in the aggregate turnover. As I said, all 15 cases are not under the purview of GST and hence do not amount to supply under GST law. Discussions and findings. AR has considered the submissions made by the applicant in his application for advance ruling as well as the submissions made by the chartered accountant, the authorized representative of the applicant during the personal hearing. They have also considered the issues involved on which advance ruling is sought by the applicant and relevant facts. At the outset, it is to make it clear that the provisions of both CGST Act and KGST Act are the same except for certain provisions. Therefore, unless a mention is specifically made to such dissimilar provisions, a reference to the CGST Act would also mean a reference to the corresponding similar provisions under the KGST Act. The applicant, an unregistered person, is in receipt of various types of income and intend to know whether the income so received in each type is includable in the aggregate turnover for the purpose of registration under the GST Act. The definition of aggregate turnover in terms of Section 2 Clause 6 of the CGST Act reads as under. Aggregate turnover means the aggregate value of all taxable supplies, excluding the value of inward supplies on which tax is payable by a person on reverse charge basis. It includes exempt supplies, exports of goods or services or both, interstate supplies of persons having the same permanent account number, to be computed on all India basis but excludes central tax, state tax, union territory tax, integrated tax and cess. It is clearly evident from this definition that the aggregate turnover is equal to the sum of value of all taxable supplies, value of exempt supplies, value of supplies towards export of goods or services or both, and value of interstate supplies of persons having same permanent account number. This is to be computed on all India basis, excluding the value of inward supplies on which tax is payable by a person on reverse charge basis, and also excluding the central tax, state tax, union territory tax, integrated tax and cess. It could be seen from this that the aggregate turnover is sum of different supplies. Therefore, any income to be included in the aggregate turnover need to be related to any transaction that amounts to supply in terms of Section 7, subsection 1, clause A of the CGST Act. The said section stipulates that any transaction must consist of following three components to get qualified as supply. 1. The transaction must involve a supply of goods or services or both, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease or disposal made or agreed to be made. Point number 2. The transaction must be for a consideration by a person. Point number 3. The transaction must be in the course of furtherance of business. In view of the above, income received from each source has to be examined as to whether it is in relation to any transaction that amounts to supply or not. Therefore, let us consider different types of sources of income one at a time. Interest income received from different sources. The applicant is in receipt of interest income from different sources as mentioned in the application. So there are various things. All these interest incomes are out of the deposits or loans extended by the applicant. The services by way of extending deposits, loans or advances insofar as the consideration is represented by way of interest or discount. Other than interest involved in credit card services, the interest earned by applicant out of the deposits or loans or advances extended amounts to consideration is exempted by virtue of entry number mentioned earlier, that is entry number 27A of notification number 12/2017. Therefore, in the instant case, extending the deposits, loans, advances by the applicant is nothing but exempted service, and the actual amounts of deposits, loans, advances become the value of the service. Thus, these amounts are to be included in the aggregate turnover for registration under the provisions of GST Act. Partner's salary received as partner from applicant's partnership firm. The applicant is in receipt of certain amount termed as partner's salary from the firm where the applicant is also a partner. The applicant has not furnished any documents relevant to the issue such as copy of agreement, appointment order, etc. so as to decide whether the applicant is an employee of the partnership firm or not. In case if the applicant is a working partner and is getting salary, then the said salary is neither supply of goods nor supply of service in terms of clause 1 of schedule 3 to CGST. Further, in case if the applicant is in receipt of the amount towards his share of profit from the said partnership firm, then also the said income is not under the purview of GST, as the share of profit is nothing but application of money, and hence the said salary is not required to be included in the aggregate turnover for registration under the provisions of the GST Act. Salary received as a director from a private limited company. The applicant is in receipt of certain amount termed as salary as director of private limited company. Two possibilities may arise with regard to the instant issue of amount received by applicant. The first possibility is that the applicant is an employee of said company, that is executive director, in which case the services of the applicant as an employee to employer are neither treated as supply of goods nor as supply of services in terms of Schedule 3 to CGST Act 2017. The second possibility that the applicant is the nominated director, non-executive director of the company and provides the services to the said company. In this case, the remuneration paid by the company is exigible to GST in the hands of the company under RCM basis under section 9 subsection 3 of the CGST Act in the hands of the company. This is why the entry number 6 to notification number 13/2017. In the instant case, the applicant has not furnished any documentary evidence such as copy of agreement between the applicant and the said private company, copy of appointment order, details of ESI, PF deductions, etc. so as to decide whether the applicant is in receipt of salary as an employee or an independent director. Thus, in the absence of any documentary evidence, it is not possible to decide whether the amount received by the applicant is towards his services as an executive director or a non-executive director. In view of this, the remuneration received by the applicant as executive director is not includable in the aggregate turnover, as it is the value of the services supplied by the applicant being an employee. Further, if the applicant receives the remuneration as a non-executive director, such remuneration is liable to tax under reverse charge mechanism under section 9 subsection 3 of the CGST Act in the hands of the company under entry number 6 to notification number 13/2017. Thus, the value of the said services of the applicant being a non-executive director are includable in the aggregate turnover, as it is the value of taxable services supplied by the applicant, though the tax is discharged by the private limited company under RCM basis. Executive director, salary paid, GST not applicable. Non-executive director, remuneration paid, GST applicable. Company should pay GST on RCM basis. Rental income on commercial property. The transaction of rental or lease of commercial property amounts to supply. Applicant receives periodical income towards the impugned supply of service, and the same is in the course of furtherance of business. Hence, the said transaction amounts to supply in terms of Section 7, subsection 1, clause A of the CGST Act. It is a taxable supply of service having service accounting code, that is SAC 997212, and therefore the value of such supply is to be included in the aggregate turnover for registration. Next, rental income on residential property. The transaction of rental or lease of residential property amount to supply. Applicant receives periodical income towards the impugned supply of service, and the same is in the course of furtherance of business, and hence the said transaction amounts to supply in terms of Section 7, subsection 1, clause A of the CGST Act. However, services paid off renting of residential dwelling for use as residence classified under SCAC 997211 are exempted from the tax in terms of entry number 12 of notification number 12/2017. Thus, the impugned supply of service of renting of residential property becomes an exempted supply. However, the aggregate turnover includes the value of exempted supplies also. Therefore, the income received by the applicant towards rent of residential property is to be included in the aggregate turnover. The applicant is also in receipt of income out of maturity proceeds of life insurance policies, dividend share on shares, capital gains or loss on sale of shares. The term securities, which has the same meaning assigned to it in Securities Contract Regulation Act, includes shares, scrips, stocks, bonds, derivative instruments, etc. Those have been explicitly excluded from the purview of GST by virtue of its exclusion from the definition of goods and services as contained in Section 2, Clause 52 and Section 2, Clause 102 of the CGST Act respectively. In the instant case, the dividend on shares, capital gains or losses on sale of shares are relevant to the shares securities, and the income earned in this relation is nothing but application of money. Therefore, this income earned out of shares, which are excluded from the definition of goods or services, also gets excluded from the said definition of goods or services. Therefore, they are not relevant to aggregate turnover and hence are not required to be added to aggregate turnover for registration purposes. The applicant is also in receipt of income out of maturity proceeds of life insurance policies. The impugned income would be received on maturity of insurance policies, that is on closure of the insurance contract consequent on maturity of these policies. Insurance premium of policies is taxable under GST, that being consideration for services provided by the insurance policies companies. Therefore, on completion of the said contract or maturity of the policy, there is no service involved between policyholder and the insurance company. Therefore, the amounts received on maturity of insurance policies are not relevant to the aggregate turnover and hence are not required to be added to the aggregate turnover for registration under the provisions of GST Act. Here goes the verdict of the Honorable Karnataka Authority for Advanced Rulings. The income received towards salary, remuneration as non-executive director of a company, renting of commercial property, renting of residential property, value of amounts extended as deposits, loans, advances, out of which interest is being received, are to be included in the aggregate turnover for registration. Also, the income received from renting of residential property is to be included in the aggregate turnover, though it is an exempted supply. This verdict clearly excludes the director's remuneration paid to an executive director as not part of supply under GST law. Hence, payment of GST on RCM basis does not arise for the salary paid to executive director. On facts to distinguish the ruling of Rajasthan AR in the case of Claycraft India, an important document to be in place is the appointment letter as executive director of the company, which would insulate the company from payment of GST. To this extent, there is a lacuna in the Rajasthan AR ruling, which is respectfully submitted in this video. To reiterate, later post Rajasthan AR ruling, the Honorable CBIC has issued clarification clearly stating salary paid to executive director is not exigible to GST and hence the company is not required to pay GST on RCM basis. Thank you for a patient hearing. In order to get more such videos, kindly subscribe this channel and click on bell button to receive new videos in real time. Please like the video in order to encourage to make more such videos.